today for Voice of the Donor, we are here with Steve Mesler. Steve was the gold medal winner of the bobsled in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics, which is pretty cool. Steve was born and raised in Buffalo, but he is actually residing in Calgary, Canada, right now, as the international headquarters of Classroom Champions resides there. And so we're going to talk with Steve a little bit more from a foundation side of how his foundation came to be and how they engage with their donor base to try to, again, bridge that gap between donors and nonprofits. So first, Steve, can you just tell us a little bit about Classroom Champions and how it came to be?
Yeah, Classroom Champions we're an education and mentorship organization. And if you think about the typical way we use people doing amazing things, we utilize Olympians and Paralympians to get amazing outcomes in kids that increase their resilience and their grit, increases their engagement in school. We partner with teachers to do really great things in the classroom during the school day to engage kids in character development and citizenship skills. And really the best way to think about it is what it's not, which is the typical way an Olympian would interact with a school is that Olympian would go into a school, they'd give a talk, and then they'd leave. And they'd never see those kids again. And those kids wouldn't really know who that person was unless you're, one of the top few people who are super famous in the Olympic world. Otherwise, kids wouldn't know who they are. And a month later, you go back, and those kids, maybe they remember they got on math that day, and that would be about it.
Yeah.
And that person walks out and goes, you know what? If one or two kids listened, it was worth my time. And my sister and I, going into my last Olympic year, my sister's got her PhD in education and social policy. She was a teacher. Our parents were teachers. And we thought, we can do better. Right. And what better looks like today is we have dozens and dozens of Olympians and Paralympians who are doing amazing things. And as they're competing and training and traveling the world, we use digital technology to connect them with classrooms on an ongoing basis. So we adopt classrooms in high-need schools and communities all across the U.S. and all across Canada, as well as a couple places in the Caribbean and Central America. And we see relationships form. And instead of that one in and out, we see asynchronous video communication happen, and we use Skype just like this. Right. And for kids today, that is real. That is meeting this person. So by the end of the year, this is a friend, and this is a relationship, and it becomes another positive adult in these kids' lives. And we see all of those positive things that happen within a mentorship situation from a big brothers, big sisters, those other things, the psychological well-being, behavioral well-being that happens in kids. We see that actually happen in group mentoring through the virtual connection. So we've created a very, very scalable way for people doing awesome things to give back in a really effective and measurable way. So we're really excited about not only what we've been doing, but where we're going.
So, and I really like the one thing I read about how you're also teaching these children about emerging technologies, right? Because they are using Skype and they're using video conferencing and...
It all happens all of the relationships happen on a digital bed. So right. Our main outcomes are grit and resilience and interpersonal skills and behavioral issues and engagement in school. But what happens is the whole thing happens on this digital bed, so they're utilizing technology without even knowing it.
That's really cool.
They're learning how to build a relationship through current technology, which in today's business world, over 90% of people need video technology to operate in their jobs.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Our teachers are telling us kids are coming to school more. I mean, a teacher in Camden, New Jersey, one of the most dangerous places in America, they do their couple classrooms that we work with there at different schools. They do Classroom Champions on Fridays. Why Fridays? It's really hard to get kids in those environments to come to school on Fridays. Right. Behavioral issues are down because kids are part of something. They all have just their simple symbols, their wristbands, their T-shirts, that they know thousands of kids across the continent are doing this with them, and they know that they have an Olympian to answer to if things go bad, and they have an Olympian to brag to when things go right. So we're starting to learn more and more from schools that we're seeing attendance going up, and we're seeing behavioral issues going down, and we're seeing grades go up because kids they wear their hashtag Dream Big T-shirts. If somebody goes to the site and you see these on the back, it says hashtag Dream Big. Yeah. They wear them for testing days. They ask their teacher, can we wear our Classroom Champion shirts for test days? And when we see that happen, it gets us excited that we're really doing some not only things that are going to help them in the long term, which are changing their mindsets. 91% of our kids have a growth mindset. And I mean, our kids are statistically significantly more likely to hold on to the goals they set longer and set more goals and follow and pursue their goals. But we're actually also impacting today, which is a really exciting thing to start to look at.
That gives me goosebumps, literally.
It gives me goosebumps too, and I get to talk about it every day. Like at the end of the day, I mean, University of Chicago did a study in the fall that showed 20,000 kids over a long-term period that at the end of the day, middle school attendance was more important to high school graduation than middle school test scores were. It makes sense. You can't learn if you're not there.
Yeah.
My sister she sits on our board and she works at MDRC out of New York, which anybody in the education sphere will know about what MDRC does. One of the country's the continent's most preeminent measurement organizations in education. So she gets to look at it from this perspective there, which really helps us make our programs better.
Why is this specific cause of motivating and mentoring young children significant to you?
I mean, a few different ways. When we started this, it was after a trip I took to the States, and I walked out of a school and I got on the plane and came back to Calgary to train, going to my last Olympic year. And my sister and I hopped on the phone and we said, you know what, like, I'm tired of doing school visits.
Yeah.
Tired of it. Sounds bad. I'm a bad person.
No, you're a pretty good person, I think.
But I was tired of it because you're not making a difference. You're not. Yeah. You're not having an impact.
Yeah.
And we thought, how can we do this better? So we were really lucky. We had people in our lives, our parents, coaches, teachers that were amazing. And they taught us that if you put your mind to it, you can get it done. Yeah. I hate to bring in the political terminology, but we measure for this. Our kids have a higher sense of personal responsibility. They feel that they are responsible for what they're going to do and what they're going to be. And we had people that taught us that. A lot of the kids in the U.S., we work with kids in 50% or more free and reduced price lunch student populations. We average 82%. We work in places like Camden, and we're 99%, which means 99% of the kids there are from a family of four that are making less than $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Yeah. Chances are they're from, the higher likelihood of being from a single parent home, higher likelihood that parent has to work multiple jobs. So they don't see their kids as much. And we know what parent engagement means in school. So that's why it's important. We had those opportunities, and now we're in this amazing position where we've worked with over 60 Olympians and Paralympians who want to do the same thing. Like they were tired. They were tired of doing the same thing. And what they see in Classroom Champions, what they get out of it is, from people like Meryl Davis and Charlie White to Olympians and Paralympians that no one's heard of.
Yeah. It
doesn't matter to our kids, because as soon as we sign these kids that this is your Olympian,
it's a sense of instant pride, right?
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's obvious how much your story is resonating, or how much this foundation is resonating by how many Olympians and Paralympians are coming on board with you, right? It's the same story over and over.
It's easily the thing I'm the most proud of, is that they are year after year, they ask to come back.
Yeah.
They ask. Josh Sweeney is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He's a sled hockey player. Josh joined the Marines when he was 18, went to Afghanistan, lost his legs, came back, realized he couldn't play hockey, and scored the game-winning goal for the U.S. Paralympic team in Russia against the Russians last year in the Sochi Paralympics. and he's teaching kids about grit and resilience and goal setting and perseverance and getting involved in the community. I mean, imagine, we've got Lex Gillette, who's a blind Paralympian, and he's teaching kids. We partnered with Google Glass last summer and last fall, and we put Google Glass on a blind person.
Oh my gosh.
So that Lex could communicate with his kids and show them what he would see if he could see. Right. And Lex lost his sight when he was 10, and he works with kids that are 10. So the connection that we see and the empathy that we saw 33% increases in empathy in the kids that Lex worked with. It's pretty diverse. We're still a young organization. Like I said, we were up until 2 years ago. We were a volunteer organization.
Okay.
The last, we'll be about $1 million budget organization this coming year. Which again, coming from nothing but volunteers 2 years ago was a pretty steep increase.
Yeah, I was just going to say that kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, which is our exciting part. Is we've been really, for a few years, for the last couple of years, we kind of grew about 300 or 400% budget wise every year. So our donor base is pretty big mix. In Canada, it's very corporate based because we just got our federally registered charity status in January. It's a little more diverse in the U.S. We've got corporate, we've got individual, we've got some individual donors who are very generous. A man named David Pottruck actually sits on our board, is our largest donor as well, sits on our board. Former CEO of Charles Schwab, as well as foundations in the U.S. So the Foundation for Advancing Alcohol Responsibility, we partner with them for our Healthy Living Month.
How do the individual donors make those contributions, and do you make it easy for them?
Yeah, good question. So we're getting better at that. Classroomchampions.org, there's a big fat donate button as soon as you get to the website. And when you go there, we kind of give suggested giving levels of what that means and what that can do. With a small organization, mass fundraising is more difficult to pull off. You know, you're looking for more of those high net worth donors, looking to engage them and give them beautiful and wonderful experiences. I mean, Dave Pottruck got to go visit one of our schools in Philadelphia, inner city, North Philly, and you know, he emailed my sister and I afterwards, and he was just floored. We allow them to go in. Our teachers know that we are a nonprofit, so they're used to people coming in and hanging out with the kids, and the kids sharing what's happening in Classroom Champions. So we really look to connect our donors with areas that they care about. Then we have donors come to us every now and then that say, like, we'd like something in middle of Arkansas. And we're like, okay, great, you know, give us some time. Teachers apply to our program. We don't gift it. Right. Teachers apply, they jump through hoops, they have to want it. And then when they're part of it, they are spoiled. We do professional development with them. We have an internal private network. They get all kinds of perks to be part of this because we understand that the teacher is the most important person for the child when they leave the home. And it's because the teacher knows them. Yeah. So the way we look at it, you can look at it two different ways. In the fact that schools don't pay for our programming right now, which means that they get our programming for free. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is they operate our programming for us for free. And that's the way that our staff views it, is that we're serving them. They're operating our programming for us for free.
Yeah.
And in return, 100% of our teachers say we improve classroom culture. 100% of our teachers say we increase student engagement. You know, all of these things that are happening. So it's a really wonderful. There's no losers in the situation.
I think you guys are the walking example of it takes a village, right? Like
it does. It does. And we engage parents because what we found out was, and this is all from a very organic place and from my sister's understanding and knowledge as well that she's taught me, is that you know who else are really excited about the Olympics other than kids? Everyone else. So like adults are too. I mean, I sit on the board of directors for the United States Olympic Committee. There's 15 of us on that board. I'm still a fan of the Olympics at the end of the day.
Big time.
So parents are the same thing. So when we have parents who tell us when their child comes home from school, when we have events, community events that we do with our corporate sponsors, and we bring our corporate sponsors in, and they get to barbecue for the rural communities or the urban communities, and parents come to the school because they get to meet their Olympian, and we know what happens when parent engagement goes up. So, you know, by hook or by crook, we want to get parents in.
Yeah.
But when our parents tell us that, you know, my daughter comes home, what'd you do at school today? Nothing. What'd you do at school today? Nothing. What'd you do at school today? We did Classroom Champions, and we learned about this. They taught us this, and we did this. And as a parent, how do you talk about fair play with your child?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so we equip the teachers to send a one-page newsletter home to the parents every month that says, here's what your child would have learned through Classroom Champions, and here's 5 questions you can ask them.
Cool.
Whether you're in the car, at the bus stop, at the dinner table, on the couch. You know, wherever it is, when they get excited about this, we want to empower parents because it's very disempowering to a parent when a child comes home and knows more about something than they do. And especially with a lot of the populations we work with, especially in urban environments in the U.S., in the rural environments in the U.S., you have, again, more likelihood of these parents not having had a good quality education experience, which means when things come from the school, what is it usually? It's usually bad. Usually your kid's in trouble, your kid's been doing this. So we want to create that positive thing. And if getting kids and parents to talk about Classroom Champions subjects at home is it, awesome.
I think what you guys are doing is absolutely incredible. And my only other question to you would be, in the next Olympics, do you cheer for Canada or the US?
I sit on the board of directors for the United States Olympic Committee, so I cheer for the U.S.
Fair enough.
But our classroom champions policy is we cheer for classroom champions athletes.
Thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for talking to us.
If people want to donate, they can go to classroomchampions.org. Is that
Classroomchampions.org? That's a very easy way for the individuals if they would like to talk about how we bring more community-based programming across various schools. There's a contact form on there that they can reach out, and the team will get back to them right away.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.